In a world where trust is shattered and love is tested, one channel dares to uncover the untold stories of heartbreak and betrayal. Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles, where real-life tales of infidelity are unraveled, secrets exposed, and lives forever changed. Join us as we navigate the complex world of relationships, offering support, understanding, and a place for those who have faced the pain of betrayal. Subscribe to Heartbreak Chronicles now, because every story deserves to be told, and every heartbreak deserves to be heard. Story 1. Trust is gone. Gotta break up. Help me on how to please. I am in a 4-year relationship with my girlfriend and it's always been kind of bumpy. We had a few huge fights and I feel like we never really solved our problems. We've done one session of couples counseling and I realized, just there, how much I don't trust her anymore. She lied in the past. Maybe she cheated. That was a Congress in Miami. That's work. I found out by snooping at her phone. I chose to believe in her story. Forgive and move on. After a full year of working on my emotions and my faith in the relationship, she talks about a new business trip, but does it without any care for my feelings. I ask for words of reassurance. She can't promise me she'll never get drunk during a Congress. Says I'm controlling. During couples counseling, she agreed that regardless of whatever happened in that room, that was cheating. It was inappropriate. She understands me from a rational point of view but can't sympathize with my feelings, as she did nothing wrong with the guy and wanted to catch an Uber after sobering up a little. During individual therapy, I came to learn that she's gaslighting me and manipulating my decisions through my feelings. She's been physically and emotionally unavailable for a few months now. Even before the fight, we were not okay. I already have a support group waiting for me, my lovely family and the holiday season. She's on a trip now and should be back tomorrow evening. How do I do it? Do I insist on couples counseling and try to see things through? I have to break up, but I am super attached to her emotionally and this could take a toll on me. I have serious issues with rejection and breakups. TLDR, girlfriend slept around, drunk, at her buddy's hotel on a business trip but swears to God she just crashed to sober up from one of the parties and went to her hotel right after. I moved on and chose to trust and believe her, though she hid it from me and I found out by myself. 1 year later a new trip is on the way. She's shown no remorse, no regret and no empathy. I feel it might happen again. Let it rain. Bring your most sincere opinions. Thanks. Update. I just outed my cheating wife and she finally moved out. Last week, my partner and I agreed on breaking up and ending our relationship. I took the initiative and talked to her about it. Since then, we've been cohabitating in a civilized manner while being separated. Thing is, out of the blue, she suggests we should have a farewell over wine and party one last time. I said hell no, but, I'm sorry, I'm only human. After a few talks, I gave in. We rock and rolled all night, swore eternal love to each other and made promises to work on our marriage. Next day, I'm all confused and all messed up during work. Hungover. What now? Then, I came back home waiting for some connection to talk about last night. She was distant, didn't say a thing and was avoiding physical contact. Basically, she was stonewalling me. She even took a nap to avoid contact. When she woke up I had to ask so what are we and I got the cold-blooded what we talked before. Come on, last night we were intoxicated. Those were just words. Dude, I had to hear those words. Reality check espresso. Then, today, I spent a lot of time reflecting on everything that happened in the last few days. I realized, after some conversations with other people, that, again, I was manipulated through my feelings and I gave up my body and my vows of love to a person who needs validation and admiration from third parties. I would still have to live with this person until the end of the year, or, believe me, until January 7th. I decided it was time to act. I don't want this person in my life anymore. They have the key to get into my head. I needed to protect myself, and now it must be final. I went to her as soon as she got home from work and went over the list of reasons why our interaction should be minimal from then on. I said I felt used, abused and lied to again. After that, I stood up and said that I didn't believe her story and that I would share the information with her supposed AP's wife. She followed me, threatened me with reporting abuse to the police, threatened me with revealing to everyone in our social circle that I was crazy, said that I would face dire consequences if I sent anything to her supposed AP's wife. I told her that I had my cell phone in my hand and I recorded all her threats. Showed her and she froze. Well, then, I sent the message to the guy's wife. The message contains only dates, times and facts that could be tracked down in Google Maps, Uber and messaging apps. I told her only the facts that I was aware of and that they spent one night together on a business trip. But I had no proof that they had sex. See link above, okay. At no moment did the conversation escalate. There was no shouting. There was no physical contact. So, I think I'm safe from any retaliation from her. But a bomb exploded in the guy's house today. She finally left. Her brother came over, took her in his car. She's out. I'm free from her spell. TLDR, I messed up and gave in to a one-night stand with my cheating wife before we finished our divorce procedures. She swore eternal love, promised to work on the marriage and agreed to try again, just to deny everything on the very next day and say it was just a farewell. I realized I needed her out of my life for good and as soon as possible. So I outed her to her AP's wife. I gave very little thought before sending the message to the AP's wife. But now, it's out there. The message was private, only to her eyes. There was no exposure to social media and her privacy was respected. Did I escalate too much? Just in case, I did a police report about her threats. Story 2. I think my girlfriend is cheating on me with her brother. I have been living with my girlfriend now for 3 years and everything has seemingly been fine. We are both close with our families, so I have never found it weird that she wants to spend so much time with them, but it's come to my attention recently the way she acts with her brother. I know it's pretty late in the relationship to be discovering this, but as far as I've seen online, this kind of thing happens within the family fairly often. Her and I are both pretty introverted and like to stay in, but if her brother invites her out, she dresses her best and always quickly agrees. She has been spending the night at his house more and more often recently and always comes home wearing clothes that were borrowed from him. When I'm with them in person, it seems like she's pretty touchy with him, and the way she makes eye contact with him kind of scares me. How do I confront her about this? Am I sick for even thinking this to be a possibility? Okay, quick update because there's a bunch of questions, I guess. This is her real brother. I've been to multiple family functions including him. I have thought about her using him as an alibi, but they always have a way to prove they're together. Whenever they go out, they say it's a siblings night and I'll be invited another time. I don't know why she spends the night there. He does live alone and is currently single. It might be because they're too drunk to get her home, but the bars and club are a short Uber away from our house, so I don't know why she wouldn't come back home. The reason I don't just want to leave is because everything we have is tied together and things are extremely expensive, so just moving out and getting a new place would not be easy. I'm going to talk to her tonight when she's off work and see if there's anything she's hiding from me. I won't accuse her of sleeping with her brother, but I'll make it known how I feel and what my concerns are. Thank you for all the responses. Another update. Thank you for the advice, guys. I will not confront her tonight. I believe you are all right that I need to gather hard evidence to show her before I make a move like that. I don't want to follow her, as that is too much for me. Going through her phone is a possibility, though I do feel as though that it is pretty invasive, and I don't just want to ask her straight up to go through her phone. Does anyone else have suggestions on this? Update. I went through her phone when she got home and there are multiple men she's talking to. She goes to her brother's to sleep with them. There were multiple texts back and forth from her brother, with him calling her sexy and even pics of her in a bikini, so I don't know if they're sleeping together or not, but it's a weird relationship either way. I'm extremely hurt, but thank you for the advice, people. I don't know what I'm gonna do from here, but I thought I'd just update quickly before deleting my account. Story 3. My wife has been caught cheating. TLDR, the wife and I are building a business together. We are almost done. I found out she is sleeping with a coworker. Let me start with some background. My wife and I are both 54, married 31 years. She is an RN at a hospital. I have worked for a home builder since I was 18. We have 2 children, both grown out of the house in their 20s. We decided in our mid-40s to pursue my wife's dream of running a bed and breakfast. We have been looking on and off for years. We came across a piece of property of 5 acres and a home built in the 1870s. The original owners were large landowners in this area. They had an extensive agricultural business empire. Over the decades, fewer of the family wanted to stay in farming. Parcels of land were sold off. Our town is going through growing spurts as it has become quite touristy because of some, let's say, natural formations and beauty. The farmland along the main highways is being gobbled up. The house and land we purchased is away from the highways. Since we bought it, my wife and I are redoing the entire house. There has been neglect in some basic maintenance, and we want to restore the house to its prominence 150 years ago, along with making a living. My wife has been in charge of decorating rooms as I finish, along with paying the mortgage. I am renovating room by room, paying for all material and any professional help, if needed. I am pretty handy, so most work is done by me. The last few years the housing industry has gone through the roof. We would work 8 days a week if we could. I was pulling in big money, until last year. The pandemic knocked us out of work for a while in 2020, then the material shortages started. Of course, my wife was on the front lines for the last 18 months. Last year she worked weeks at the hospital without days off. The medical staff stayed at the hospital. They had rooms several slept in together. To say the least, the staff got very close. They worked 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off, starting in March last year into the fall, then again after Thanksgiving. My wife has always, after the kids were older, worked for others if they asked. She watched these young parents crying because they could not see their families. So, on their off time, she would give up her time off and offer it to the staff that really needed it. There were others that did this too. The whole COVID experience changed her. Watching people put on ventilators, the deaths, etc., she was not the same person. She was distant. Our sex life went to zero. I attributed it to either her experiences or her age. I tried talking about it but was told she just didn't feel it anymore. We still worked closely on the house. We planned trips to an area in our state that had a large Amish population. The Amish here are known for the craftsmanship in woodworking and sewing. We bought several pieces of furniture for the bedrooms along with handmade quilts. This past weekend, we were planning on taking a 3-day trip to this area to buy dining room furniture. I also pay and trade with some wood that I get when I take down an old barn, which I do as a side gig. Barnwood is very much in demand. My boss calls me and tells me everyone is working the whole week as he was able to get wood and shingles for a house we have been sitting on, waiting for supplies. I told the wife we could go on Saturday and Sunday. On Friday morning she tells me she is still going with some workers because there is a fall festival going on too. I went to a local bar that night. One of her coworkers comes up to say hello. I asked if she was going on the trip. She knew nothing about it. So I texted the wife asking if she made it okay and asked who was all there with her. She texted back that this friend, her other close friend, and a friend called Stevie. I had heard this name the last few months. Until then I always thought they were female. I asked her friend at the bar if she knew Stevie. She said no, but there is Steven that works with them. So the wife gets back Sunday afternoon. She has bags of tablecloths, napkins, kitchen towels, etc. She is showing me what she bought. In one bag there was a smaller bag. She pulled it out, looked in it and said, "Oh, not this bag, it's not for us." I let it go. Later I looked in the bag. She had hidden it in a closet. It was decorations for a man cave for a college team I don't follow in sports, so it wasn't for me. I asked to talk with her. I asked again who all went. She gave the same 3 people. I just asked who Stevie was because we had not met. She told me about a woman they work with. I pulled out the man cave stuff and told her I talked to her friend, who was supposed to be away last weekend but her plans blew up. Then I asked who Stevie was again. She started crying and told me who he was, and yes, they were by themselves. They had sex. They have been since last year during their hospital lockdown. So now she is living in one of the finished bedrooms. I have our bedroom. I will talk to a lawyer on Monday. I have no idea what to do about the house, the business, the marriage. To me she was sorry she was caught but not for the affair. I asked her if she would break it off with Stevie. She was not sure. Update: it's been a hectic couple weeks. Along with my work and side gigs picking up, the wife and I were battling. I saw a lawyer. After I explained everything, he suggested we try to work it out before he gets involved. The house is still not a business and cannot be sold as such. We would have to sell it as a house, unfinished, which would lower the price. We have sunk well over $100,000 into the house plus the mortgage. The lawyer will have to consult with a real estate attorney and maybe one dealing with businesses, so their fees are going to be high. So, I tried to approach the wife to see if we could talk. I don't know if she is embarrassed about being caught, but she has dug in her heels. She told me to leave the house. I told her I have no plans to do that. Then she countered with my giving up the master suite and me moving to one of the bedrooms. I again tell her I don't plan on it either. She then says she is off the next couple days and will move all my stuff out and put it in the foyer for me to decide where I am going to stay. So I end the conversation. I went out where my supplies are stored and grabbed a new door lock with the push-button keypad. I was going to install on the bedroom doors once we had guests. We can change the combination after each guest. I installed it on the master suite door. The next day I went to work. When I came home after a day of angry messages for putting the lock on, she was livid. "How dare you lock me out of my bedroom," was her war cry. After back and forth I asked if we could please talk. She finally agreed. Later that evening we sat down. I told her I was very hurt to find out of the affair and that I wish she would have told me she was not happy. She did not say anything. So I continued with that as far as I am concerned the marriage is over. She just nodded her head. I then told her I have been to an attorney. This caught her by surprise, by her look. I explained what the attorney said, that it would be best if we could come to some agreement on what to do. Our largest asset is the house and to sell it we would take a huge loss. She just smiled and said I can prove that I have paid the mortgage, so the house is mine. I shook my head no. My attorney explained the house is a marital asset. Both names on the mortgage. I then pulled out a couple binders. I have every receipt that I have spent filed by room on what has been spent. I started this just out of curiosity and just kept going as we finished rooms. I can prove I spent thousands of my money in refurbishing the house. She was caught off guard by the receipts. She has not been to an attorney. I propose that we live peacefully together and finish the house. We can then set the B&B up. She could buy me out of the business at that time. She dug her heels in again. No, I need to leave. If not, she has plans to move Steven in. This hurt like a bit. I got up and got a glass of water to collect my thoughts. When I came back to the table I told her if I see him in the house or on the property, I would start disassembling everything that has been done. Every nail and every screw I put in I would take out. Every light and plumbing fixture would be taken down. I said I would not destroy them because I own them. I would replace them with any old piece of salvage material I could find. I said think about it, consult with whoever is giving you dime store advice. Let me know. Yesterday, she came to me. We had not talked in several days. She asked if we could talk again. She had talked with our kids. I had called each and told them what's going on. Our daughter suggested to her that we stay in the house until completion. Start the business as I suggested. Then maybe I could move out but still own 50%. Mom could run the business, bringing in an employee or two to help run the place, do yard work, give Mom a day off. I told her I would think about it, but my stance on Steven will not change. So I have another appointment with an attorney. The big issue is we probably will not be in business until 2024. The outside needs much work along with landscaping, plus we need to come up with a room for one of us to live in. The room I am in is part of the rooms to rent. TLDR, the marriage is over. Now it's how to come to separation without bankrupting us. Update 2. See my profile for original post and first update. Sorry I have not updated. I am recovering from a stroke almost 4 months ago and am just now getting back whole. My wife and I were discussing how we would split our assets. Our lawyer said it would be best if we came to some consensus. As we were talking, the stroke hit. I was sitting for 1 second, then hit the floor. My wife is an RN. Thank God she saw something was wrong when she asked if I was alright. I hit the floor. She called 911 and told them I was having a stroke. I went to the hospital for a week, then to rehab. My wife had taken a leave to care for me when I got home. I don't think I would have recovered near as well without her. She went back to work in January when she felt I could manage somewhat by myself. Our kids stop over when she works her 12-hour shifts though. I don't know if she is still seeing Stevie because she spent 2 months by my side. However, she has taken a couple 3-day holidays away, so I think that may still be going on. Right now divorce talk has been pushed to the side. Thank you for those asking for updates and the many DMs asking where I was. I am on the mend. I have some issues walking, so going back to work is out of the question. I may have to come up with something else. Update 3. I hope it's the last one. Sorry I haven't updated. I know many have asked. First, I want to say how much I appreciated all the support, especially from those on PM. There were multiple chats that showed real concern for me and let me use them as a sounding board. On to the update. I have filed for divorce. I was starting to waver. I think because of my health issue I stopped seeing the whole issue. The STBXW was very kind and nurturing to me in recovery. Once I was back on my feet, taking care of myself, I started realizing things. STBXW took weekends away once or twice a month. The kids would visit to help out. I now realize she was going to Stevie's place or going away with him. The kids got clued in right away. My daughter has been all over STBXW. Their relationship is now nil. That is a shame. My son disapproves but has not cut ties. We discussed divorce, dividing assets. It will be amicable. Neither of us can buy the other out. We listed the place with a business broker, I guess that's what to call him. He found a company, think VRBO, Airbnb, to give us a great offer. So we will divorce and move when it is finalized in a month or 2. The sale will go through then. My health is not all the way back and probably never will be. I have a great boss who is working with me as I grow into this new role as a project manager for him. Thanks for all the support. Story 4. 19 years gone in one conversation. My wife of 19 years told me about her friend setting her up on a blind date. She had a girls' night out with her friend TT, set her up apparently with a guy that she had slept with a few weeks earlier. T was hooking up with someone else and set my wife up with the past hookup. My wife went out at 7 p.m. and came home at 3 a.m. that night. The confession came completely out of the blue, said she was sorry and wanted to work on our marriage, waterworks, and begging forgiveness. She said that nothing happened between her and the guy because T had slept with him. She knew agreeing to meeting this guy was wrong, and going to meet him was even worse. I don't believe that nothing happened like she is saying. She also said that the guy works at a sawmill and you make more money. Basically, she was confessing to actively trying to replace me. If she could find someone with a better paying job, this post would be much different. Not long after this girl's night out and before the confession, my wife and T had a total meltdown of their friendship. Suddenly they went from best friends to T is a liar and a manipulative, jealous person, according to my wife. I think the confession was to keep T from telling me about her sleeping with the guy, gaslighting me on the truth of what really happened by telling me only partially about it. Only enough to look bad, but not the whole ugly truth of what happened. Honesty, I didn't need to be told everything that happened. Her story didn't add up. The holes in the story were too big. Little coincidences that occurred around that time put everything in perfect focus. When she told me about it, I lost all feelings for her. I just went numb, didn't even get angry. I'm done. Just working on my exit strategy at this point. Getting financials in order, place to move into, etc. It really sucks that she would be willing to throw away 19 years of marriage with no regard for anything, including our 2 children. Update. Sorry in advance, this is a long one. A lot has happened since my first post. She is in full-blown panic mode. Recently diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder where her white blood cells are attacking her lungs. This causes asthma attacks that normal medication can't correct. The only drug on the market that controls the condition has a copay of $13,000 after her Medicaid. If I didn't have really good health insurance through my employment, there isn't any possibility of her being able to afford it. She is trying everything to reconcile, even setting up couples counseling. We made it through 2.5 sessions. Explains why she came clean on partial truth and wants to fix things. Counseling went the way I figured it would. Every session was all about everything I had done wrong. ever, including my working 50 hours each week to make ends meet because she has partial disability and doesn't work. I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Everything was brought up, including our 2 children. Well, except I was informed that the mention of her date night was off limits. About halfway through the 3rd session, the counselor looked her in the eye and asked, if you have such a high-power radar to detect what everyone else is doing wrong, point that radar at yourself and tell me what you do wrong. The proverbial shit hit the fan. My STBXW started yelling at the counselor and wanted to know why she was attacking her when we were there so she can fix me. After a few minutes of back and forth, my STBXW stormed out crying. The counselor told me that my STBXW has a deep hatred for me and I don't think this marriage can be salvaged. Basically, my response was yup and nope. I informed the counselor that I appreciate her time and we won't be back. She offered me individual counseling. I informed her that I probably would in the future and proceeded to tell her about the taboo topic. Needless to say, it didn't surprise her and confirmed her suspicion. Needless to say, the entire trip back to the house was about what a quack the therapist was. I've basically been on autopilot when I'm at the house. I refer to it as the house because it isn't a home anymore. I've moved into the spare bedroom. As far as I'm concerned, I may be married, but I no longer have a wife. If she didn't need good medical insurance coverage, she would still be on the hunt. I don't need to track down T to get the whole story. I live in a small community of less than 900 people. I commute to work in a bigger city daily. Monday of this week, while at the only grocery store in the community, guess who ran into my STBXW? None other than the blind date guy. Small town's right. It was bound to happen. I was at the end of the aisle when he walked up to her. He is a small guy, maybe 5'9" and 150 pounds. She had her back to me and didn't realize where I was. He asked her out again, right in front of me. She did decline though. That's when I walked up. I asked him if he was the guy she went out with about 2 months ago. He asked, "What's it to me?" I backed him up against the shelves and told him that I've been her husband for 19 years. I thought he was going to soil himself. I'm 6'2" and 250 pounds and muscular. She tried to get me to back off. I growled at her to shut up, she just better listen. Immediately she started crying. He told me that he was told she was single and begged for me to not kill him. I asked if the FC kid. He swallowed hard and said yes. She cried harder. I told him to never let me see him again. He apologized for everything and basically ran out of the store. Her AP outed her by being in the wrong place at exactly the perfect time. If it hadn't been him, I would have eventually ran into T to get the story. Needless to say, most of the time I'm on autopilot. It's as if all emotion is gone. I have to fake happiness while I'm with my children. I don't know if it is an emotional self-defense mechanism to keep things from falling further apart. I know I should be in some kind of distress over this. One day it's going to hit hard. I no longer trust the things I know to be true. Do my children really love me? Or do they love the things I give them? Do my parents? Do they only love the fact that I got good grades in school, never got into trouble, always had good paying jobs? The only thing I'm certain of is I can't stay in this sham of a marriage. I get up, go to work, barely eat or sleep. The only people I've told about this are strangers on the internet. I have no one to talk to about this. I go from one day to the next pretending I'm normal. Maybe my STBXW was right. The therapist does need to fix me. Story 5. Wife is pregnant, baby might not be mine. Not quite sure why I'm doing this. I've been drinking quite heavily for most of today, so if I stop making sense you all understand why. I'm 40 meters and my wife is 38. She was always adamant that we wouldn't have children. I wanted them but loved her more than the idea of becoming a father. We met when I was 20 and she was 18 and were married by the time I was 22. She came from a very privileged background and her parents did not approve of me. They are of the opinion that she married below her social station. A few months ago she visited her parents and her father bought her a new car. Her parents have serious money and I trusted her, so it wasn't something that I questioned. Plus she's always received gifts from her father over the years. Why would this one be any different? A couple of weeks ago she told me that she was pregnant and I was ecstatic. Happier than I've ever been. But it didn't last long. I got a call from a friend and he told me that he'd seen her with her brother-in-law while she was visiting her parents. She hadn't told me that she'd seen him. They've always had a weird dynamic that's made me uncomfortable, but I consoled myself with the view that she had chosen me. She could have been with him, but she had chosen me. My friend sent me some pictures and it changed things. The images showed a couple that were very close. The image showed them gazing and holding each other. The intimate gestures of ones familiar with each other. Her gazing at home with a look that I had hoped was reserved for myself. His hands in her hair as he kissed her. Turns out it's more than likely he bought her the car. I confronted her about it, asked her what happened, but she lied. Told me she hadn't seen him. Told me that I should know the score between them, that she has to be civil. Very freaking civil. I showed her the pictures and told her to leave. That was a week ago. Then I did the math in my head and realized the dates line up. There is a very real chance he might be the baby's father. Today I asked her for a DNA test, but she exploded at that. The thought of subjecting her baby to a test. But without one I'll never accept this child as mine. This whole ordeal has made me reconsider my marriage. Not only that, but how honest she's been through it. How many of the gifts that she's received over the years have actually been from her father? Has she just spread her legs for any man that's bought her something nice? Have I quite literally married a whore? I've sent her sister the pictures, not for any noble reason of thinking that she should know. I want to hurt my wife and brother-in-law, and that's the best way I know at the moment. On Monday I think I'm going to talk to a lawyer and set the divorce proceedings in motion. Thank you for reading, and I'm sorry if this is a mess. My mental state isn't great and I've had a lot to drink. Edit. Thanks for the support. Those that don't believe me, that's your prerogative. This is the internet and I understand your skepticism. I need her permission for a DNA test and she's made it clear that she won't give it. The next step is I get a divorce and lose half my stuff. Infidelity doesn't matter as much to the UK courts. Dyslexia and a high blood alcohol level are responsible for any spelling and grammatical mistakes. Update. I've not spoken to my wife in close to 10 days. She sent me some messages and left voicemails, but I haven't responded to any of them. I made my position clear with her. When she agrees to a DNA test, I'll talk to her, not before. I spent Christmas with a close friend and he gave me some advice about what to do with my future. I used to row and box in my early 22nd and I plan to start doing that again. I'm also giving up alcohol for the foreseeable future. It doesn't do my mental state any good. I have an appointment with a lawyer and a therapist next week. I plan to get myself sorted mentally, emotionally, and legally so that I don't get fucked in the coming months. Whether or not I get divorced in the end, I need to know my options and the consequences. I've spoken to my sil on a few occasions and she's going down a similar route to me and filing for divorce in the new year. Her and my Bill have a young daughter, so life's going to get quite complicated for them. If the baby turns out to be his, then they can have one really messed up family. I'm jumping from wanting the baby to not. If it's mine, then I get to be a dad, but my life gets seriously complicated. If it's someone else's, then I can be done with all of them and have a fresh start, but the thought that she'd have another man's child is profoundly depressing. If it's not my child, then I think I'll move somewhere else. Maybe apply for a work visa in America, transfer to one of the European branches of the company, or spend a few years living as a nomad traveling around the world. Haven't thought that far ahead yet, but I doubt I'll stay in the UK. If it is mine, then things will be much more complicated. I haven't told her about my plans for the future because at its current standpoint she's not in them. That might change, but at its current standpoint that's unlikely. As updates go, this one is probably disappointing, but it is what it is. If she agrees to a DNA test, then I'll provide another update, but at this point that seems quite unlikely. Final update. It's been almost 6 months since I posted anything, and quite a lot has changed for me in the last few months. I got a temporary transfer to one of the northern branches of my company. They say a change is as good as a rest, and in this instance it was. Working somewhere different was definitely what I needed, and it was nice to be somewhere where I wasn't reminded about my current situation. When I returned home, it really clicked how unhappy I have been in London. It's not a city that I enjoy living and working in, and I've made the decision to move. I did also have a short casual relationship with someone else, but it didn't really go anywhere. I thought some meaningless sex would help, and during the act it did, but afterwards I always felt guilty, so I stopped. My wife had the baby last Monday. She also agreed to a DNA test. I saw her on Wednesday, which was an experience. I haven't really spoken to her in the last 6 months, so the meeting was very awkward. Her parents have never really liked me, and the last few months have done nothing to improve their opinion of me. She kept on asking me if I could feel it while I held the baby. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I did feel something. I told her about my plans to move, and she was very much on board with that, insisting that it could be a fresh start for us. She maintained that she never had an affair. I don't know if I believe that, but I have no evidence. I'm not certain that I want her to come with me. I did get the results from the test a few days ago, and it is my baby. She's made her position clear. She wants us to be one family, one household. The thing is, I really don't know if that's what I want anymore. Truth be told, I have no clue what I want anymore. The main thing that I feel at the moment is confusion and uncertainty. Stay with her or leave her. I am in a lot of respects tied to her now through our son. It's something that I'm putting a lot of thought into before I decide. My therapist says that trust is everything in any relationship, and if you don't trust someone, then you can't have a real relationship with them. He also asked if I could trust her again or see myself being in a position where I could trust her again in the future. Both questions I don't know how to answer at the moment. I'm not looking for advice. I'm well aware of the echo chamber that is Reddit. I don't think I'll post another update as I don't see any point.